All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our Community Development and Tourism Committee for Thursday, January the 23rd. Call the meeting to order at 1 o'clock, and we will begin by sharing the land acknowledgement statement. We'd like to begin by respectfully acknowledging that Dufferin County resides within the traditional territory and ancestral lands of the Tianantati, Attawandaron, Haudenosaunee, and Anishinaabe peoples. We also acknowledge that various municipalities within the County of Dufferin reside within the treaty lands named under the Haldimand Deed of 1784 and two of the Williams Treaties of 1818. Treaty 18, the Nottawasaga Purchase, and Treaty 19, the Adjutants Treaty. These traditional territories upon which we live and learn are steeped in rich Indigenous history and traditions, and it is with this statement that we declare to honor and respect the past and present connection of Indigenous peoples with this land, its waterways, and resources. Now ask the clerk to conduct a roll call.
Councillor Creelman is absent. Councillor Guardhouse.
Present.
Warden Horner.
Present.
Councillor Little is absent with prior notice. Councillor Post.
Present.
Councillor White.
Present.
And Chair Mills.
Present. Thank you. Just a reminder to members that if they have any pecuniary interests, those can be declared now or as they arise throughout the meeting. Public question period. Were any questions submitted?
No, there were not.
No. Bill, being the only member of the public, do you have any questions yet?
Not yet.
Okay. All right. We do have a delegation from Bill McCutcheon and Grace Swiderski. Grace is running a few minutes late, so I just said to Bill, I think what we'll do is we'll just jump ahead and keep going in the agenda with the first report, and then we'll just fall back and deal with that delegation when Grace gets here. So the first report is with respect to our advocacy efforts at EDCO's annual Queen's Park event. Right, sorry. Before we get to there, Raj wants to make an introduction.
Thank you, Chair Mills. To the committee, I just wanted to take an opportunity to introduce Liam, our development planner. So he's been really helping the planning team out since Silva's departure a couple months ago, and I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge all the work that he's been doing. And Liam is here today to speak to a report. So thank you, Liam, for joining us, and thank you for all your hard work.
Okay, so I'll turn it over to Raj, and she can give us some of the highlights from the Queen's Park event.
Thank you, Chair Mills. So our first report is on the advocacy efforts that our economic development team did last year in the month of November while attending the Queen's Park event. Both Yao, who is our manager of economic development, and Liam, our development planner, attended the event. It is a curated event with a select number of municipalities that attend each year, and really advocacy efforts are done on behalf of rural economic development for us, particularly for Dufferin County. And I'll turn to Yao to talk about some of the topics that were covered at their advocacy event.
Thank you, Raj. Through you, Chair. So yes, Liam and I went to this event organized by the Economic Development Council of Ontario. There were basically three major components of that event. There were delegation meetings and briefings. There was the Mayor's Roundtable, and there was the evening reception. So the delegation meetings and briefings were actually pretty good, 30 minutes long. We got the opportunity to meet with a number of ministers, and then following those meetings, we provided them with some briefing notes. And it just so happens that Dufferin County was one of the few rural municipalities represented in those meetings. So I was able to represent Dufferin County, but also represent rural Ontario in a broader context in those delegation meetings. But with regards to the briefing notes, those touched on rural transportation services and some of the needs in Dufferin County and beyond. As well, we talked about food vulnerability in Dufferin County and beyond. And then in the evening, the Mayor's Roundtable and evening reception, both Liam and I were there. We got additional opportunity to talk with some colleagues, learn some more about how other municipalities are embarking on economic development initiatives. So it was a great event to be part of. And as I learned, getting 30 minutes with ministers is actually a lot. So it was great.
Excellent. Any questions for No? No? Can I have a mover and seconder then to receive that report? By Councillor Post, seconded by Councillor Guardhouse. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, the second report details some of our efforts at the Meet the Tourism Investment Dragons event. So, Raj?
Thank you, Chair Mills. So for this event, it was held last year as well. Both Yao and Liam attended this event as well. And so we were one of 10 municipalities that were selected to participate in this event. Again, very curated event, and it was focused primarily on tourism economic development. So those within the hospitality sector, hoteliers, Hockley Valley was at this event as well. And so it was a great opportunity for us to talk about Dufferin County and the tourism efforts within Dufferin. It was a great opportunity as well to present the Investor's Guide, which has won 2 awards since its publication. And so great efforts by the ECDev and planning team here. And I'll turn it over to Yao if he has anything further to add.
Through you, Chair, not much to add there, except that we were able to build some great relationships there that we are still nurturing. We followed up with emails. A number of them have indicated interest in attending our upcoming investors tour of Dufferin County. And so we're trying to build those relationships, and hopefully down the line, those relationships turn into actual investments in the tourism sector in Dufferin County.
How were we lucky enough to get selected as one of 10?
Well, there was an application process, and we had to basically detail some of the opportunities within Dufferin County and how we are positioned for tourism development. And so that process involved, contacting local municipalities, getting an idea of some of the lands and the properties that are available for development, and then putting that into a package that was presented to the ministry.
Councillor Horner.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Sounds like an exciting day, Yao. What kind of folks do you think you were able to attract with enough interest to come back then to our investors tour later in the spring?
Yeah, so through you, Chair. The 2 folks that have indicated strong interest in attending, one of them, I don't want to name them just yet, but they are involved in tourism accommodation broadly, but not necessarily the big high-rise hotels, more sort of low-rise hotels, which I think is more in line with the rural character of Dufferin County. So they are very much interested in exploring Dufferin County. That particular contact is actually thinking of bringing in some additional contacts with them to the tour. And then the other person that expressed interest is actually a current investor in Dufferin County. And they're hoping to expand their investments in Dufferin County.
And if I may, the other thing is, what sorts of things were you promoting about Dufferin County that made us stand out among the 10?
Through you, Chair. There were a number of things that came up in our conversations with them. I think one of the major things was what kind of lands are available for tourism-related development. And we're able to showcase that through our investor's guide, as well as some additional information that we provided. A lot of them were also curious about planning processes, and so Liam was able to provide a lot of insights into how that process works and how the county comes in those application processes. And then, of course, there were a number of questions around, how does the county, through its programs, support development? And then I was able to mention the fact that we have plans for CIP, among other things, to support and direct development in Dufferin County. So.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments? Okay, can I have a mover and seconder to receive that report? By Councillor White, seconded by Councillor Guardhouse. All in favor? That's carried. All right, the third report is another good news story, and that is that our Investor's Guide has received an award, so I will let Raj give us the details.
Thank you, Chair Mills. So our Investor's Guide received a Marcom Platinum Award, and so this is a Marketing Communications Award by the International Marketing Communications Agency, and every year there's over 1,000 applications that come forward for different categories, and we won the Platinum Award for the Investor's Guide. Really, this is just to share a good news story. There's not much more for this, but we just wanted to share that our good work is being recognized amongst industry professionals, and we're going to continue to build on the capacity that we've already gained so far. Yao, is there anything further you'd want to add?
Through you, Chair, I just wanted to add that there is an online digital version of the guide, and so anyone who is curious to see what information is located in the guide, you can check it out. It's available on our on the county website as well as the exploredufferincounty.ca website as well.
Great. So our Explore Dufferin Guide and now our Investors Guide have both been recognized. Multiple awards. And as the warden said, Dufferin County specifically received a shout out at Roma. So whatever you're doing obviously is working. We're starting to get some traction, I think, and get noticed, which, in the economic development sphere is probably a big part of the battle, right? Just getting noticed in the first instance. So it's great work. Councillor White?
Thanks. Sort of along Councillor Mills' point, since you and Yao started, we've won a lot of awards. Do you ever get sick of it? Does it ever get to be, is it ever just too much, just another award?
Through you, Chair, no, my plan is to fill the hallways with awards.
All right. Anything else on this one? Can I have a mover and seconder then to receive that report? Warden Horner, seconded by Councillor Post. All in favor? That's carried. All right. Next report is to outline some of the changes to the pre-consultation requirements under Bill 185. So Raj, I'll let you sort of walk us through that.
Sure. Thank you, Chair Mills. So this is really just a housekeeping report. Bill 185 deemed that municipalities no longer are allowed to require a pre-consultation for development applications. And so this is just for us to do some housekeeping and repeal our old pre-con bylaw. Liam, I'll let you add anything if you want to.
Sorry, it's not mandatory under the PPS anymore. So yeah, that's basically what we'd do is just go back and review that bylaw and see some changes that need to be made or what new bylaw could come out to make it not a mandatory process, but a process that planning would urge applicants to proceed with.
And that actually was going to be my question. So I suspect that the new bylaw and the new manual will still allow for pre-consultation. We just can't require it in those particular sets of circumstances, but we can urge it, we can recommend it, and it can still form a part of the process as long as the applicants are willing to take part.
Yeah, through you, Chair. Yeah, that's correct. It's a pretty crucial process that we want to continue with. So, but obviously it's not mandatory anymore. So we still just want to provide them the opportunity to do so.
Okay. And I would think in a lot of cases, well, let me take a step back. I think probably the provincial government's impetus in doing this is they think it's going to save time. My submission would be, though, oftentimes these pre-consultation meetings probably prove to save time in and of themselves because they set the expectations out early. Parties leave those meetings knowing exactly what they have to do as opposed to just jumping right in and then having to go back, and backtrack.
Yeah, through you, Chair. That's absolutely correct, actually. And speaking with a planner for a private consultant, they actually informed kind of the same thing where it's very much a beneficial process and really outlines what needs to be submitted and all those requirements, which we wouldn't be able to do without the pre-consultation process. So, yeah.
Warden Horner, I see your hand.
I was just hoping that it would be strongly recommended somewhere, maybe in fine print somewhere.
Yeah, through you, Chair, absolutely. Through the new bylaw or whatever new version of the bylaw that comes forward, it'll definitely be strongly recommended rather than just recommended.
Okay, any other questions on this? No? Okay, so the recommended motion is to receive the report to repeal the existing bylaw, which is bylaw 2019-10, because it no longer conforms with the PPS, and then to direct staff to establish a new pre-consultation manual and bylaw that reflects the updated policies. So that will come back at a future meeting, I suspect, right? Okay. Is there a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Post, seconded by Councillor Guardhouse. All in favor? That's carried. All right, the next one is with respect to an Ontario Land Tribunal submission. So, Raj, you gonna take this one?
Through you, Chair Mills. So this report is detailing an OLT submission that the county has put forward with regards to a property in Grand Valley. So if you've had the opportunity to read the report, you'll see that the county also sought out legal opinion on this because we wanted to ensure that we were indeed understanding what was happening correctly and proceeding the right way. So in short, this was positioned as a lot line adjustment by Grand Valley. We feel, however, it's not a lot line adjustment as it's not minor in nature, and it is actually removing prime agricultural lands and putting them, essentially adding them to an existing residential lot. So therefore, we didn't feel that it's in alignment with the definition of a lot line adjustment, and as such, we've filed with the OLT.
All right, I see Councillor Solomon has his hand up.
I'm not sure if you don't want to recognize me, Chair Mills, that's fine. I didn't tell anybody I was coming. I just thought I'd stop by and hear what was going on. Am I recognized?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Thanks for the courtesy, sir. Our planner is unsure what he did wrong. He's done this before, so that's one of the issues. But I think the issue he's coming back with, and is that it's 2 weeks over the deadline to appeal. The appeal was to be, the date was January 9th. So far, we have not been notified of an appeal formally. And I'd like to thank whoever phoned me the other day and told me that this was coming. So thanks to staff, but I forget who it was. Very, very nice of you, though. Thank you very much.
Through you, Chair Mills. Thank you, Councillor Solomon. That was me that called you. So I appreciate you taking the time to receive my phone call. We actually did file the appeal the first week of January. So January the 9th, I believe, is when we did submit for OLT. And so this report really is coming forward for information purposes for council and committee to receive. The information as to the county has filed an appeal, and this is the reason as to why we've filed an appeal. And really, County Council may decide to have a discussion. You may also decide to have planning staff withdraw the application or withdraw the appeal as well. That's completely up to you, but we felt it was in your best interest and for information sharing purposes to let you know the grounds by which we wanted to file the appeal, and for you to have the opportunity to have the discussion around the table.
All right, thank you very much. Our clerk, our CAO thought the appeal had to come to her, and it has not yet.
I think process-wise, Councillor Solomon,
that's
the appeal gets
confusing.
filed to the OLT directly,
Okay.
and then OLT will notify the municipality once they schedule dates, I would assume.
Yeah,
Okay.
through you, Chair Mills. So Chair Mills is correct. The OLT will receive the appeal application, and then they will review it. And if it is a successful appeal, then they will notify the municipalities that way. So it's that would be the process by which you would be notified.
Okay, and then I think I'm getting it now. Then you guys, or you can withdraw the appeal or not. So that's That is my understanding now, I think.
Through you, Chair Mills, yes, that's correct. If county council directs us to do that, then yes.
Yeah, okay. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for hearing me out. Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, he may have left, but it's okay.
Go ahead.
Through you, Chair. I'm a little confused on this application, and I think the land, the agricultural land, the larger parcel, is going to be consolidated with the land beside it. Is no, not the residential. I think the application, I'm not sure which way, the residential portion is the retained, and they're severing off the rest of the property, or is it worded the other way? Not that.
Through you, Chair Mills. So the abutting property is a residential lot as well. I'll let Liam add to this. If Liam, I'm incorrect on any of this, feel free to chime in. But a portion of the agricultural lands are being taken and then essentially severed and added to an existing residential lot that is abutting the property, thereby taking the agricultural lands out of prime ag and then adding it to the subsequent residential lot, increasing the residential lot.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
So I'm actually just thinking a little bit in terms of process going forward. Those of us who were on county council last term may remember that there was a similar sort of situation, at least in terms of the county appealing a lower tier decision. That one was a little more complicated because there were a number of applications involved, and I believe a special meeting was called where our planners attended to give advice and take questions. What's the thought in this case? Just this report will go on to county and planning staff will be available at the next council meeting to address it if need be?
I think Warden Mills, if the committee has a recommendation that they would like to make or a position you'd like to take that would then be presented through the minutes to county council, that would be fine as well, or you can just defer the conversation until the county council meeting. It's up to you.
Warden Horner.
I think if this comes before the entire council, there needs to be a lot more clarity on exact, some pictures and things that will show exactly what's involved and why it does not conform. And so I think there needs to be a lot more detail to that report if it's going to go on to county council.
Yeah, and I think that's probably fair. I mean, the situation we had last term, it sort of more or less that's the way it was handled, that the planners kind of, provided their advice to council based on planning policies as to why they felt that the county should be appealing the lower tier decision. I mean, it's up to the committee if we want to make a recommendation to council, or if we just want to receive the report at this point and let it go on to council to comment further. Councillor White.
Thanks, Chair. I agree. I think it should go to Pole County Council one way or another. I'm happy to make a motion to receive it and whatever works procedurally, but I think it does have to go to Pole County Council for discussion. But it has to go somewhere, because we can't then expect Raj to make a decision if we sort of knew nothing. I don't know that I agree also there needs to be a bigger presentation to explain a lot of the intricacies and exactly why we are where we are. And I don't necessarily disagree with the report as written. I don't really know enough about the particular one to form a decision at this point. But I will say, sort of offhand, that back when the county was required to have an official plan and planning, this is exactly the sort of thing that we contemplated as problematic. And I would hope that, and I, if I put my head on my pillow tonight, I do believe that we're probably doing everything we can to try to avoid any situation where the upper tier is appealing the local tier discussion before, it gets there. But, this is exactly the problematic discussion we had when we're supposed to have the 8 fingers for the municipalities, or if anybody remembers that conversation that we had.
I think that's a good point, and I mean, in the report, it seemed to indicate that the county did provide comments before the committee made a decision, and I'm not sure if there was any further engagement with the county, or if the committee just decided not to, really take heed of the county comments. But to your point, I do think, efforts were made short of just filing an appeal without any notice of objection. And again, Raj, just for my edification, in terms of process, you don't necessarily need anything positively from council to authorize you to move ahead with this. But I do get the sense that folks around the table would like to see this at council and maybe just receive a bit more fulsome explanation as to why it's felt that this should be appealed.
Yep, through you, Chair Mills. So just addressing your previous comment, yes, we did have meetings with the planner at Grand Valley, and we did try and talk it through. And so you're absolutely correct. This isn't something that we just decided to do as the sort of oversight body of planning for the county. We do want to ensure that we're in alignment not only with our own official plan, but also the provincial planning policy statement, which dictates how we should be operating, especially with regards to prime agricultural lands. So that was sort of the rationale behind this, and then going one step lower than that to our official plan, and then subsequently the local official plan. With regards to your second comment there, Chair Mills, no, we don't necessarily need anything from you today. Happy to come back to County Council with a presentation with pictures, with maps, with sort of the planning justification, and walk it through with everybody, and happy to have that discussion. This is for information purposes to be received. And just to provide you with some further clarity, the deadline for appeal submission was January the 9th. However, based on sort of the Planning Act and timelines within the Planning Act, Grand Valley gave notice of their decision December the 20th. And so that fell over the holiday calendar period, which then resulted in the January 9th date, which then resulted in a quick turnaround. So had there been an opportunity to come to committee or council sooner, we definitely would have. We always want to ensure that you're informed, but that's sort of the timeline, if you will, and that's why it's appearing now rather than it would have come sooner if we could have.
Thanks. And just, I want to be absolutely clear. I don't think for 1 second that staff didn't communicate. If that's what, in case that's what my comment sounded like, that's not what I meant, because I believe that every effort, I work with Liam all the time, I believe that every effort would have been made. I just think it's a sad day that we've come to this point. And my other point is that, are you referring to the one in Melanchthon last term? Oh, I meant, okay, yeah. Because if you were, I was just going to clarify a point on that, but I won't. Thanks.
I'd like a follow-up as well.
Councillor Gardos.
Certain people have certain sensitivities and what have you, and that's understandable. I'd just like to, I think that I feel like as though this application, it's a little confusing on how they presented the application, not on what you've written up here. It's exactly what was presented to you. So I still need a little bit more clarification, and I'll follow up with you on that. Thank you.
Liam?
Yeah, through you, Chair. I was just going to provide clarification on the communication part as well. So I did talk with the Grand Valley planner, and unfortunately with planning, it's quite subjective, so it was more of an agree to disagree. So that's kind of where it led, and then ultimately it's their decision at the town level to decide on how they're going to proceed. But I think we both appreciated each other's stances. It was just unfortunately planning different opinions, and then it just is based on what committee and council wants to go forward with. So yeah, that's it.
Councillor Solomon, I see your hand up again.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair, and thank you around the table for all the comments and that. And I think probably it is a misunderstanding. Our intention was to take farmland from a residential lot and add it into the adjacent farm. That's creating more agricultural land. Because that's where it was initially came, we just put it back. So that's what we were trying, that's our intention. I don't know if it came out like that, but I'm sorry if it didn't. And I appreciate your considerations around the table for this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And that's helpful too, to understand, what the actual intention is. So I guess at this point, it sounds like we're likely just going to receive the report, and then we'll see something else back at County Council. So can I have a mover and seconder to receive? Councillor White, second by Councillor Post. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, and I see that Grace is here now, so we'll jump back in the agenda to the delegation section. And I would like to welcome Bill McCutcheon and Grace Swiderski. Do you guys want to make a bit of an informal presentation, or do you just want to have a discussion?
I'm not sure we need much of a presentation. I think every member's seen the presentation before, so discussion would be good, for sure. I'd just like to introduce Grace. Grace has got a title, okay? Grace is Assistant Pastor Manager. If you want to know what's really going on, okay, you talk to Grace. Mike is in New Zealand. Yeah.
Good stuff. So I guess I can lead off. Bill and Yao and I had a chance to have a brief discussion on Tuesday afternoon. I forget when you were first here, 4 or 5 months ago?
May.
May? Okay, well,
May or June.
yeah. Was that your first meeting?
That was my first
Okay.
meeting. I remember it.
Yeah. Anyways, since then, I think some more work has gone into this. A few issues have been clarified. And I think based on the discussion that the three of us had the other day, I mean, pending committee's thoughts and council's thoughts, I think we're sort of on a pathway. Do you want me to kind of summarize where I think we're at? Sure. So the discussions that we've had to date are sort of as follows. The community pasture is in the process of trying to procure some grant funding through the Resilient Agricultural Landscape Program, which is a program that you're familiar with and use regularly. So the intention is that will cover hopefully most, if not all, of the cost of fencing and seeding and whatever improvements you need to do to the land.
Yeah, water systems.
Water systems, okay. And you had mentioned too that through that program, you sort of have to front end the cash and then you get reimbursed, but you're in a good enough cash flow position that you can do that. In terms of going forward, and looking at what we may want to classify as rent, that the intention seems to be that the community pasture would be paying the equivalent to what the county would owe on an annual basis for property taxes. So the idea is that the county wouldn't be out of pocket at all at the end of the year. If we formalize this, it would be an initial 10-year fixed term lease with an option to renew for an additional 5. And I think that's sort of the high points.
Yeah, no, it's, if, when we go ahead with this, it's going to take a while to get that investment in fence back. And I know you're not paying for it and we're not paying for it, but I think we have to be responsible for the Ontario government's money, that we make good use of that grant that's out there, and we're able to, have that property long enough to realize those benefits from having that infrastructure there to do that. It's, I mean, one of the good parts about this property is half of it is in grass. It's not great because the soil is pretty dead, because there's been no livestock on it, and there's not been much done with it for, I have no idea how long, maybe 50 years, I'm not sure. There are some, you can see the foundations of some broken down homesteads that have been there, so it has been looked after at one time, but it's been quite a while. So, the soil's not very lively, but it'll recover. as we manage it and graze it, and it'll look more like a pasture in 10 years than what it does now, for sure.
And if you don't mind, Bill, I mean, you had mentioned some of the spin-off benefits to this, carbon sequestration being one of them. Did you want to speak to that
Sure.
just briefly?
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's I think it's important to realize that the best way to sequester carbon is through growing grass, and to make grass grow, you have to graze it. That's the way this works, and I mean, there's lots of science behind that that grazed pastures sequester more carbon than trees, and I mean, we've got some trees there, but I mean, they're not sequestering a lot of carbon, I would say. They're just scrub, really, is what there is. So I mean, I think it's a great opportunity for the county to do something with the land that you own and actually show your citizens that you're serious about making things better and sequestering some carbon. And I mean, we're not in a position right now where we have offsets and value, but there will be perceived value there because you will be sequestering some carbon. And I mean, a lot of the grassland in eastern Canada has disappeared, and a lot of the habitat has disappeared for the things that used to live on grassland. And I think it's a great thing for the county to do, and we'd like to participate and take this journey with you and provide that the expertise that we have in grazing management for nothing, and move forward.
And the other element, which was sort of an exciting prospect from my perspective, the existing community pasture that we have now in partnership with Gray is not in the most convenient of locations for public access. That's not the case with this one. I mean, it's
Kind of off the beaten path.
yeah, well, that's for sure. This one's pretty central. It's easy to get to. And you folks are open to having some public demonstrations.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, we do have an open house annually. It's not geared for the general public per se. It's geared for patrons and other beef producers to come and see the technology. But certainly, we could gear that towards taxpayers, towards the public. It's not a big thing, for sure.
Okay. Questions, Councillor Post?
There we go. Thank you, Chair Mills. Quick question about what your anticipated timeline is looking like right now. Just wondering when you're hoping to kickstart and get moving along.
Sure. We'll have to secure the services of some contractors to fence that. We'll have to grind some of the fence line, like to get a path to do that. And certainly we had access to that land this spring of 25. We would sow down that south side and get it in grass. So we'd have to see what the availability of contractors, whether that be the big thing.
Yeah, did you want to add anything else at this point, or? No, okay. Warden Horner and then Councillor Guardhouse.
Just wondering, has there been work done by staff, on developing a memorandum of understanding with some terms in it, or like, are we, while I understand that you're proposing to pay rent that would equal the taxes, are there other things like a community open house or some other things that we could incorporate in a memorandum? Have we done any consideration of any of that? And then once we get a little farther into this, is there any possibility for getting a little more than just the taxes from the organization?
Okay, through you, Chair. Right now it's just conversations. We wanted this to come through committee before moving forward with. Oh, there it is. Okay. Before moving forward with an MOU, but we have had extensive conversations around, a lease term, and how much we could get from a lease and that sort of thing. And then some of the conversations, of course, have been around the economic development value of this property, the long-term value of that property, and how that feeds into the lease term. So lots of conversations, but we haven't had a concrete MOU yet.
Sorry, yeah, my thought on that would be that, you know, as long as committee and council is supportive of this, I think we're probably at a stage where we could just move right to, you know, drafting a lease agreement and kind of forgo the letter of intent or MOU phase. Sonia, I guess, question to you, presumably that this can go to council at the next meeting. We can, if the committee wants to make a recommendation, that the council sort of accept the proposal based on the terms that have been discussed, and then if council approves that at the next meeting, you know, we could direct staff to have a lease agreement prepared based on those terms.
Through you, Chair, or to you, Chair Mills, yeah, absolutely. If there's some sort of general parameters the committee wants to lay out today, and then that goes to council and gets approved, then we can use that to draft the document.
Okay, and Bill and Grace, from your perspective, in terms of, you know, commencement date of the term, like spring this year? Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, 1st of May would be.
Okay.
Good, yes.
Councillor Guardhouse, and then I'll go back to Warden Horner.
Through you, Chair. With the renewed interest from the province on some renewable energy possibilities coming down, we're still waiting to see exactly what that means. It would be nice if there was some, if programs presented themselves, that we had the option to partner with the pasture in that, and we could use it as kind of a research and innovative concept. And maybe that's only part of it, but we'd like to, in the agreement, to make sure that we have that possibility going forward. And certainly under the Rural Water Quality Program, there's a section there for innovative and research. So if you come up with some creative ideas, you can tap into that for some funding possibly in the future. But certainly, and I will echo what you just said, you know, we with the loss of grassland throughout southern Ontario, the habitat for grassland birds has been gone, and there's been a serious decline, and there's been a lot of resurgence in doing these kind of projects, and the positive response of the nesting for the grassland birds is they are repopulating quickly, as we've seen in the 80s of our waterfowl birds, which we managed to destroy from DDT, but that's going back a few years. But that, once again, that was almost too successful from some people's opinion today. But very positive. These are the things we like to see. So very good.
Yeah, and there's lots of sites across southern Ontario where sheep are being grazed under solar, not too far away from here actually. And
yes.
So yeah, no, I think that's a pretty neat thing, and certainly you know, there's cooperation, and we really see very little decline in grass yield under those panels.
Yeah, and just kind of a follow-up on that maybe between the sheep and cattle, we just have to make the solars just a little tall.
Yeah, a little higher. Yeah.
I think Raj had a comment.
Thank you, through you, Chair Mills. Yes, so in collaboration with the pasture as well as our ECDEF team, we will be collaborating with our climate team to ensure that some of those climate goals that you've mentioned, Councillor Guardhouse, and all of committee, that those are taken into consideration as some of our deliverables and next steps, because this really could be a community project that not only yields beneficial for agriculture, but also for climate goals as well.
Absolutely.
Through you, Mr. Chair, just how likely are you to get the fencing money?
Oh, I think very, very likely.
Very likely?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. We've talked to them already about the project and what the magnitude is, so, yeah.
Okay. Grace, did you want to add anything? I don't want to put you on the spot, but
Say something, Grace.
As the assistant pastor manager.
You're all the way from Riverview.
Yeah, you came a long way, and I don't want to not recognize you. So.
On a very bad Honda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was great.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Good. So I guess from here, I mean, I'm happy to put forward a motion that the committee recommend to council that we accept the draft terms, for lack of a better word, and that we would direct staff thereafter to go ahead and prepare a lease agreement based upon those. Is staff clear enough on the high-level terms? I mean, there'd be a lot of detail, obviously, in a lease that won't be discussed here, but those seem to be the material items in my mind.
Yeah, Chair Mills, I think certainly there's enough information here for us to draft something, and any of the finer details we can work out in cooperation with the pasture committee.
Okay. Councillor White?
Sorry, Bill. I think this is a great example of how we can use some of our lands to collaborate with the agricultural community. You know, I know we do other things with the ag community locally, but I don't think we do enough. I think Bill would probably say that. So it's a good thing I have the mic. So I think it's a great example, and it's something we should really promote in addition to all the other things we promote. And we have the award-winning team here that are probably able to do that. And if for no other reason than to take this piece of land off the table as being brought up every second month about something we should sell and take the money and run, I'm in favor of it.
I would agree. I mean, in my mind, this is a, win-win-win-win proposition. It allows the county to retain a piece of property, not going to cost us money, has a lot of other spin-off benefits. We're supporting local agriculture. We're providing an opportunity to educate the community. The list goes on and on. So yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I'm all in on it at this point, and happy to support it at council as well. Warden Horner?
I want to say that I think this is one of the highest and best uses we could make of that land, and it is a win-win-win all the way around.
Councillor Post?
I would be absolutely happy to second your motion, Chair Mills. I just wanted to add as well, I think that this is an excellent opportunity to better educate the broader community on agriculture and uses in the community. I know specifically from a more urban perspective in Orangeville, we've got lots of opportunity to talk about the economic development and opportunities with agriculture in Dufferin County to those who live in an urban setting and how they can continue to support. So I would love to see opportunities for the community to visit and get to know why this is so important, why it's so valuable for our community. I think there's lots of opportunities that could come out of this.
Okay, so there is a motion on the table. Is everybody clear enough? I know I sort of freestyled it, but yeah. I mean, in essence, the committee is going to recommend that the council approve the terms that have been proposed and discussed today, and then we would thereafter direct staff to look to having a lease prepared. Anything else?
Chair Mills, we will add those broad terms to the motion so that when it comes to council, it's actually laid out, the 5 or 6 points that we talked about today.
Excellent. Yeah, I moved it, and Councillor Post seconded it already, so yeah. So I just wanted to make sure everybody was clear as to what the motion was. Okay. Any further discussion on that? All in favor? And that's carried. Okay. Thanks, guys.
I'd just like to thank everybody for the consideration. I think it'll be a great trip, and look forward to working with staff and councillors on this.
Not to use a cheesy movie quote, but this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. So, yeah. With the committee's indulgence, because Bill is here, the correspondence item at number 8 in the agenda was from Bill and the Dufferin Federation of Agriculture. So if that's okay with everybody, I'm just going to bump that up, and we can deal with that now. And then, Bill, you can be on your way and not have to sit around and listen to the rest of our reports. So as you would have seen, Bill provided a letter to the warden and myself, more or less, I think, urging a continuation of some discussions that had taken place a couple of years ago regarding agricultural trespassing. Just really quickly, I can give the committee an sort of a summary as to what had happened before. There was a delegation that I had along with OPP Constable Jen Roach to the Minister of Agriculture at the 2023 Roma convention, sort of, summarizing what the concerns were with respect to agricultural trespassing. One of the biggest concerns, and this was why I had the OPP officer there with me, was that there seems to be a lack of enforcement tools when it comes to actually dealing with this. So, in the urban context, if somebody is trespassing on private property or damaging private property, there doesn't seem to be any question at all that, police have the tools and the capabilities to go in and deal with that. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem as clear in the rural agricultural context, and it's just simply more difficult to enforce given the amount of time that it may take the police or bylaw to respond. That ultimately led to a discussion that I had when I was warden with the rural mayors of Dufferin County, and the concept that we had discussed was to see whether or not there was some sort of local effort that could be made to kind of beef up the enforcement mechanisms that are available. And the suggestion that was made is based on a concept that's used fairly widely in the United States, and in particular in Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. What it focuses on is not so much the trespassing issue, and that's where it may be difficult to justify a municipal role, because outside of public lands there doesn't seem to be a lot of precedent for municipal trespass bylaws. So the suggestion was that what we focus on and what we turn our attention to is the actual damage to property. So not unlike vandalism, damage that's done to croplands by virtue of the fact that somebody's trespassing is something that, in my mind, I think local municipalities can regulate and can pass bylaws to deal with. So where that was sort of left, to make a long story short, was that the thought was that rather than have a county bylaw, it's likely better for each of the rural municipalities to have their own vandalism bylaws in place, which obviously are consistent with each other to make it easier for police enforcement. Unfortunately, I think just given everybody's schedules and whatnot, that's kind of where it stopped at the time. But I think your ask, Bill, and certainly I'm willing to play whatever part I can in this, is to reconvene that group and see if we can maybe move this ball down the field a little bit further. Do you want to add anything?
Well, I'd just like to say certainly the problem has not gone away. It's probably gotten worse. And, theft around farm buildings where there is no residence is becoming quite an issue in certain areas. And, I mean, the crop thing still exists. People think it's parkland or whatever they think. It's fair game to go wherever they want. And there is no fence and nobody knows who owns it, so they think it's okay. That was the excuse I was given one day when I caught a couple of lads in my field ripping around with a couple of dirt bikes. I asked them where they lived because I had a four-wheeler and I'd like to rip around their front lawn, and that didn't go over so well. But anyways, I think certainly the issue is there, and it's not just here; it's everywhere. And we need some way to deter it or to reduce it somehow. And I'm sure there's lots of your land too where this is happening.
Warden Horner?
So, Bill, is the Ontario Federation of Agriculture doing any work in this area, and do they have some model bylaws that work? In fact, if I were to speak as on behalf of being mayor of Mummer, like what tools do I have except to be able to present to the OPP, well, this is what we want you to do. Is that what we're looking for? Is that model bylaw? And do you
Yeah.
have one, or does
Well,
OFA Ontario
we
have
can,
one?
we can look at the researchers and see what they've got there. I can't answer that question right off the top of my head, but I can get a hold of Lisa here, and she can dig into that, whether there's some sample bylaws or whether there's bylaws in other municipalities. And I think we maybe looked at some of that. I can't just quite remember.
Yeah, the short answer is no.
Yeah.
And I think that this is, a novel solution that would be coming out of Dufferin County. And I think actually the Ontario Federation of Agriculture was kind of looking
Oh, yeah.
for us to keep forging ahead with this in a leadership role. And then the Minister of Agriculture said during the delegation in 03 as well that, keep her posted, because I think if we are able to craft something that works here, it's not a stretch to assume that that's likely something that will be used and replicated
Well,
throughout the
I would
province.
say that OFA has some resources we can use. I mean, that's why they're there. That's why we pay our memberships, right?
So my thought would be, maybe, Warden Horner and I can sit down and have a chat and maybe look to reconvene the group of rural mayors and see what we can do.
We are sitting in a rural-urban interface here, and that's where a lot of this occurs. Typically, folks that are totally rural, no, you're not supposed to be on somebody else's field. But in the interface, it's a little more difficult to get those messages through.
And any other thoughts on that? I guess, at this point, it's just stay tuned. But Bill, thanks for the nudge on that, and we'll get back to it.
We've had it on our agenda for the last year and a half. We got tired of things on our agendas too, right? And certainly Jennifer had more important things to do, I think. But yeah, it'd be good to revisit and see if we can do something for sure. That'd be great.
Okay, sounds good. Well, thanks, guys. We won't be offended if you leave, but you're more than welcome to stay. All right, so we'll get back on track to item 7.6, which is the manager of planning position, and I'll let Raj speak to her report.
Okay, thank you, Chair Mills. So this report is really just identifying some restructuring that we feel is necessary for the planning department to function. So essentially, the proposed repurposing of the senior planner position to the manager of planning position is what is discussed in this report. The dollar amount difference was already in the proposed budget package that was presented to you earlier in January and will again be discussed next week. But the functionality of the department overall would be a lot more consistent with those of other upper tier municipalities, as well as the manager of planning would be able to provide further oversight to our development planner and our coordinator. As of right now, we've been sort of functioning with one less person for a couple of months now, and I'm sure County Council as well as the committee is aware that we do also provide planning services to some of our local municipalities. And so both of our staff members do not necessarily give all 5 days a week to county planning as a function. They also do local planning roles as well. And so having an additional body would just provide some more oversight and some more mentorship to some of our more junior staff.
Okay, any questions on that one? No? Okay, can I have a motion then to receive that report? Moved by Councillor White, seconded by Councillor Post. Thank you. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, and the last report on here is just to give a bit of an overview of some work that was done by the building department in terms of hosting some building code information sessions. So Raj, I'll turn it to you, and I'm sure you'll maybe loop Becky in.
Thank you, Chair Mills. Yes, so this report is just detailing some of the information sessions that our building services team did throughout last year, more specifically throughout the tail end of the year. As you are all aware, there were over 1,000 proposed changes to the Ontario Building Code. So with all of those changes and with all of the continued construction in Dufferin County, we felt that it was worthwhile to go out into the community and host some of these information sessions where we do meet with our developers and those within the construction industry, specifically the Home Hardwares and the Home Depots of the world. And so, and we actually held an information session here within this building as well, and we got a pretty good turnout. But I think I'll let Becky speak to the particulars of it, since her team put in a lot of hard work.
Thank you, Raj, and through you, Chair. So yes, thank you for capturing that. We can further look into a presentation just to further look into the photos and sort of, how we're aligning with our strategic goals for the county, engaging more in the community, educating, and just sort of helping our customers with that permitting process. So if you want to go to the next one. So these were the dates, so 4 locations and 5 events that we did host. So we were out on Saturdays and Fridays. So we kicked it off in Orangeville at the Home Hardware in June. So we did collaborate with the Orangeville Building Department, and we had someone from their planning department and one of their building officials there to answer any of the Orangeville questions, and they had their handouts as well. We did have a very good turnout. And definitely got a lot of positive feedback. It seemed to be a lot of the questions or projects on the go were for basement apartments, so we had quite a few guides prepared for that and were able to assist them with that. At that location as well, we did also provide a laptop, and we were able to assist our customers create accounts on the portal and get them set up online so that it was easier to start that process. And then when we moved into August, we did the Friday and the Saturday at the Shelburne Home Hardware. We did collaborate with them with the Beaver Creek Homes. So Wayne was there on site with us. We had an extremely great turnout. It was a consistent flow each day. At times there were lineups waiting to speak with us, which we were really happy to see. And then I'll just touch on the November 7th. So as to what Raj was saying, is as you'll see in the report as well, we had over 1,700 building code changes. We're expecting 700 more to come shortly through amendments. So navigating through all of those changes, we had about 3,400 pages to go through. What we ended up doing is capturing all of that at a high level. Information, just sort of like pointing out the bigger details of what our community members might be most interested in. So we provided handouts. We hosted the open house from 3 to 6, and we invited, contractors, customers, really anybody that wanted to come out and learn more about those changes. We did raffle off some radon mitigation kits as well, and we can get further into that. But yeah, we're looking to host another one of those events as we get into the more effective date of April 1st when that is fully in force. So November 21st, we took that same information of all the new code changes, handouts, and everything, and hosted an information session at the Home Depot Pro Day event. So we did have a steady flow, but yeah, a lot of our customers there, again, were mostly interested in the basement apartments, ADUs, and that, which is really great. So next slide. Okay, so why are we getting out there? We want to educate our community. By educating them, it creates more compliance, it's more efficient. Customers are satisfied, when there are no surprises, when we can explain why we need permits and why the province lays out the legislation that they do. It's better customer service, meeting our customers out in the community rather than having to seek out information on their own. And then meeting them after hours too is certainly helpful. And then again, yeah, just increasing the overall efficiency in the process. So this is our first event, our Orangeville Home Hardware event. So we've got some pictures of our guides. We've got some staff with the Orangeville staff as well. Again, it was a great day. And then our Shelburne Home Hardware event. So yeah, that was a really good day, and luckily the weather held up for us. So this is to capture our open house. So you can see that we've got information boards, we've got our handouts, the radon kits that we had raffled off. We did have a lot of inquiries about the new radon mitigation provisions. So we did have a board with diagrams of different options of how you can achieve that rough-in for the radon. So that was well attended. It was a packed room, a lot of good side conversations. We tried to keep it as informal as possible. That way, any individual could go to a different station and ask the questions that they needed answers to. So all of our staff did participate in this, and they were responsible for their section of the code and becoming experts on that and answering the questions that our customers had. So that was excellent participation and engagement on the staff part as well.
Sorry, I just want to chime in really quickly. If we just take a really close look at that bottom left hand corner picture, I just want to highlight that. That is staff's effort towards bringing forward the building code changes in a very organized manner, and they took a lot of pride in it. It looks like a science fair, I said to Becky. It was great. They had a lot of people engaged, and they took a lot of pride in presenting the information in a concise manner that really spoke to the public. So thank you to the team. They did a great job, and the amount of passion, it was great. So thank you.
Thank you, Raj. Yeah, I will second that. I was excited to see how engaged and excited the staff were to do this. So that's all I could ask for. Next slide, please. So here's our pro day at Home Depot. As you can see, we were set up. There were other, tables set up with on that pro day as well for their building needs. But yeah, well attended as well. And then, just to speak to how this aligns with our corporate values. So certainly collaborating with the Orangeville Building Department, the Home Depot, and the Home Hardwares, it really kind of opened up those relationships to engage further into the communities. The connections that, for example, the Home Hardwares had to our local builders, it just opened doors up to get more communication out. So that, it just makes it streamlines things easier for our customers to have that information at hand and have that relationship if they need to come and ask questions or have conversations. So in addition to that, it does hold us accountable too. So if there are questions or concerns or even, customers that are unsatisfied, we are out there in the community answering to that, answering the questions, looking at ways that we can even make improvements for our services as well. And that's a big reason why we want to do this. We want to continue to improve our customer service for our community. And then with the innovation part of that, it's really, the idea of getting it in the community has really pushed all of us to think outside the box in how that looks. So, we do have our online system. We are looking at integrating the inspection portal system so that, customers aren't having to call in and waiting to get someone or leaving messages and hoping that it comes through in time. So that is something that we're looking at as well. But, it certainly makes us think outside the box and think more innovatively with how we could better serve our community. And then just to kind of get into the compassion part of it, I will give one example. It's the more accessibility component with this too, just going out on site. I know while I was there, I did meet some individuals who couldn't make it into the county office, who were not comfortable using the computer system. They happened to live around the corner in the town that we were hosting the information session in. knew that we were going to be there. They showed up. We sat and had conversations. I brought my laptop over and we worked it all out there together, and they were really happy. We did just recently have a follow-up email that they've now completed their project, and they were more than happy with how that all progressed in the service and how we accommodated them. So that was encouraging for staff to keep doing what we're doing. So it's those good news stories that we like to get. And then, yeah, so that's it for corporate values. And the next page, I believe, is, yeah. So this sort of aligns with our corporate values of good governance and just being transparent with the community, getting the information out there, and then also taking that feedback from the community to enhance our services and how we do things. So what's next? So we will continue to do this. I think we'll be doing this every year. It just may look a little different every year. So the next community event that we have is the Home and Garden Show at the Orangeville Fairgrounds. So we will be there all weekend. We may also be co-hosting a presentation on the Saturday with the Home Depot. So that news is yet to come still. We will be doing some more information sessions with Home Hardware, Home Depot. We may also be reaching out to some of the municipal office to do town hall sessions where they can invite their residents out. And then of course, we'll do some more in the office here after hours for our community members. So with that, we are looking to increase customer satisfaction. So we do have our survey out now. I think we have 25 surveys that have come back in the year. We definitely want to see more participation in that. So we are looking at other avenues to engage with the community more and collect more information that we can use to help us increase our services. And then with that, of course, we will be creating additional guides, and that'll be an ongoing thing. So especially with our new code changes, we do have guides and information pages on our website that you can certainly go to, but we're looking to further, I guess, provide further detail on that, whether that be diagrams and everything else. And I think that is it. Yeah, so open to any questions.
All right, well, that's great. Sort of thinking as you were talking through this, building officials oftentimes I think are put in an impossible situation, not unlike bylaw enforcement officers, right? You guys are on the front lines, and it's not often popular to tell people they can't do things they want to do. But I think from a customer service perspective, you and your team are to be commended for being proactive, getting out there, meeting people where they are, and trying to get ahead of some of this stuff so that kind of like the pre-consultation process, you're addressing some of those questions before they become problems. And as I say, being proactive and advising people about what the changes are before they, actually have to deal with them. The one thing you had mentioned was that you had laptops available and a number of people got assistance in terms of setting up their accounts. Going forward, outside of these workshops, if somebody's struggling at home to do that, is there an option for them to come in here to sit down with, building staff to set up those accounts here?
Yes, thank you, Chair. We do have computers out front that we often use to help our customers.
Excellent. Okay. Any questions for Becky? Councillor Guardhouse, and then Warden.
Yeah, through you, Chair. I just they've updated the radon. It's nice to see that it's doing a new build because it's not that costly to install it at that point in time. My question is you've got those kits that you are sending. I assume they're kind of like the ones that you hang up for 3 months and then you send them out to be analyzed. Do you know you see the radon detectors that are kind of measuring it on an ongoing basis? Are you aware of how accurate they are or not? Or if that's a possibility? Or am I asking a question that's unfair?
Through you, Chair, that's a great question. I don't have an answer on the reliability of those immediate detective systems. I will say the ones that we did raffle off were the long term, and that is where you're going to get your most accurate reading. What you would do is you would have them test in the winter months where everything is sealed out and closed off, and it does take time to accumulate an accurate test. I will also note that the tests we did obtain were from a regulated, approved government laboratory. There are some out there that aren't approved, so that I would just caution that as well.
Yeah, I just kind of want to follow up on that. The Public Health Unit, they send out reports every so often talking about radon and the that people should be monitoring it, and they offer the kits which are the same style as yours, and obviously it'll be going to a certified lab, I hope. Thanks. Warden Horner.
Through you, Mr. Chair, just wanting to know, Becky, so you're meeting individuals when you're going out, or are you meeting builders, or like what kind of people are you serving? Is it individual people who are doing do-yourself, or have you directed anything specifically towards the local builders?
Yeah, so through you, Chair, we've certainly, the invite is for anybody. So whether that be you're a homeowner and you're doing your own projects, a contractor, home builders, developers, we invite everybody. So what we do is advertise on all of our social media platforms. For example, in the event of the Shelburne Home Hardware, they did have a contact list for their building community. So that they did have a specific invite, but it is open to everybody. So really, it really did range. We had our homeowners come in and we helped them. We did have some developers come in speaking to, bigger development projects down the road that they might be interested, coming to Dufferin for, which was then, when that happens, we bring Yao into that as well. So it really is a big range of customers that we do meet on site.
Is the Orangeville Home Builders Association still active? And have you done any kind of presentation to them?
So through you, Chair, last year I was a panelist at one of their meetings. We are part of that group as well, so I certainly did send a lot of our information session posters and that to that group.
All right, anything else? Okay. All right, can I have a mover and seconder then to receive that report? Councillor Guardhouse, seconded by Councillor White. All in favor? That's carried. All right, we've already dealt with correspondence. Any notices of motion? Seeing none. Any other business? Councillor White?
Thanks. Just as Raj introduced Liam earlier this afternoon, Liam is one of the planners that works, or mainly, I guess now, the planner that works with us in Melancthon. And I just want to publicly say that my staff think Liam is just fantastic. They're extremely happy with the service he provides, as is council. So thank you very much. Just wanted to make that known.
And just in case we haven't had enough good news and, backslapping here, some of you may have seen yesterday, I think it was shared on the county's LinkedIn account, Raj was recently appointed to the International Economic Development Council, which is a huge honor for her personally, but it also is nice as far as the county is concerned as well to put us on the map, on an international map. So I don't want to call you out, but congratulations. And if there's anything you want to say about it or tell us what it's all about, that'd be great.
So the IEDC, thank you, Chair Mills, for that. That was very nice of you. The IEDC, which is the International Economic Development Council, so it's basically a body for all international development, economic development agencies, whether they be rural, urban, in Canada, North America, Japan, India, wherever. It's international. And basically, the committee that I'm going to be serving on is the International Committee. So it advocates on behalf of all of the international economic development agencies that are outside of the U.S. So predominantly, a lot of the correspondence, a lot of the policy work that's being done is centered around what's going on in the U.S. But oftentimes, as we all know, being in rural Ontario, some of our voices often get not heard. And so as a result of that, this committee has been formed to help inform some of those decisions that are being made, and also for us to be advocates for what's going on in our backyard and the support that we need. So yeah, I believe I'm one of 4 Canadians on the committee. So it's exciting, and hopefully we can get some support for Ontario, but more specifically for rural Ontario.
Excellent. Any other additional business? No? Okay, so our next meeting is Thursday, February 25th at 1 p.m. back in this room. And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Councillor Post, seconded by Councillor Guardhouse. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you all.